5 things that you can negotiate with your landlord about. Number 1, rent amount. Most rent prices listed are not fixed. But before you rush to negotiate rent with your landlord, consider 2 things. 1, who is managing the property? 2, how long has the property been vacant? It may be slightly more difficult if the landlord has contracted a property manager. However, if the property has been vacant for a considerable period of time, e.g. more than 6 months, then your chances of reducing the rent go up. Be careful on the amount that you're asking for. For example, if it's a 50,000 house and you ask for 5,000 discount, you'll probably get it. But asking for 15,000 discount on a 50,000 house will seem an insult and you'll probably not get a second hearing. You can negotiate with your landlord. Number 2, payment date. When landlord takes on a tenant, he usually wants a guarantee of payment. So this is one area you may be able to negotiate with your landlord. You don't have to pay on the said proverbial 5th. However, remember, your landlord is a service provider, just like any other service you incur, e.g. electricity, gas, supermarket, internet, etc. Therefore, when negotiating a payment date, don't negotiate a payment date you have no intention of honoring, because the landlord will put a record of the date you propose. If you delay beyond the said date, you come out as an untrustworthy person. So if you negotiate to pay rent on 12th, please pay your rent by 12th. The second thing you can negotiate with your landlord is the payment date. 5 things you can negotiate with your landlord. Number 3, deposit payment. But before we go to the how, let's ask, why do landlords charge deposit? Landlords want to be assured that the house will be returned in the same condition it was before the tenant got in. Remember, the landlord has made an investment and he wants a return on the investment. And if every time the tenant leaves he has to do repairs for damages, it decreases his return on investment. So he charges a deposit to cater for any damages when the tenant is in. So the tenant, when he pays a deposit, that is basically the tenant's money. Take care of the house and we get it back. Damage some parts of the house and the landlord uses the money to repair that. But many tenants have complained of agents and landlords unduly withholding their deposit when they leave, even when the damages are so small compared to the deposit they have put. Then, how can you negotiate deposit payments before you get in? 1, if the landlord is asking for 2 months deposit, you can probably negotiate for 1 month deposit. But this doesn't solve the renter's problem, because the renter is asking, when I leave, how will I get my money back? Then we get into number 2. You can negotiate for a 0 deposit. How do you negotiate for a 0 deposit? You can offer to pay slightly higher rent and a 0 deposit. You can say if the rent is 35,000, you can pay the landlord 36,000 and 0 deposit. Therefore, when you leave, you have no hassle and haggle over your deposit because you negotiated a 0 deposit. So 5 things to negotiate with your landlord. Number 3, deposit payment. 5 things you can negotiate with your landlord. Number 4, lease period. Most landlords or agents will offer you a 1 or 2 year rent agreement period. During renewal, there is usually a rent increase. Most tenants become frustrated at the annual rent increase, but not knowing they set themselves up for it by signing a 1 year rent agreement. Offer your landlord a 3 or 4 year lease agreement, during which period the rent will not be raised. It's a win for both sides. You lock in a fixed rent for a longer period and you reduce on the rent agreement renewal fees, while the landlord's expenses related to vacant houses, e.g. advertising and agent fees, are reduced. If you're already in a 1 year period, next time your rent agreement comes up for renewal, offer to renew for longer than the 1 year offered. 5 things you can negotiate with your landlord. Number 4, lease period. 5 things you can negotiate with your landlord. Number 5,
Terms of the lease. Landlords or agents usually issue agreements with standard lease terms. It is up to you, the tenant, to go through and negotiate any of the terms of the lease. For example, a standard term can be that the tenant should not sublet the apartment or the house. But with the recent growth of Airbnb business, many are looking to grow their side incomes by renting apartments, furnishing them, and renting them out to business travelers and holiday makers. Negotiate this before investing your money. Another term included is that there should be no changes to the house or compound. For example, if you rent a standalone house, you may want to put up a pet house, do some gardening, change the landscape, etc. Negotiate with your landlord before. Be sure to have any changes agreed and written down and signed to avoid future disagreements with your landlord. 5 things you can negotiate with your landlord. Number 5, terms of the lease.